What's going on, everyone? So, D'Angelo Russell decided to opt in, which is huge for the Lakers, right? Because now the Lakers have control. The concern was Lakers didn't really have control, right? If D'Lo wants to walk and leave, yes, the Lakers could free up their full mid-level exception, but it's like, who are you getting that's going to have the impact that D'Angelo Russell had, especially in the regular season, right? D'Lo is excellent in the regular season. The problem is the postseason, particularly against the Denver Nuggets. So it's like, if you lose D'Lo for nothing, you're kind of in this bind, right? And it's like, you got to get the talent to upgrade. Now that the Lakers have D'Angelo Russell, now they're in a position where they can look to move him via trade and try to upgrade this roster some way, somehow. Also, Jackson Hayes opted in. We're still waiting on Cam Reddish, at least at the time of recording this video. Maybe while you're watching it, he's already opted in, which is another concern, because basically, like, so far it looks like we're running it back. I do expect and do anticipate a trade. What does that trade look like? What is that trade? I think the Lakers really need one. But specifically, what I want to talk about in this video is D'Angelo Russell staying. Now, I saw, the Shams report, and a lot of people are talking about how, the wording of the report. I didn't really take it that way, right? It said, that D'Angelo Russell is opting in to stay with the Lakers. And a lot of people are taking that as like, oh, is D'Lo under the assumption he's staying with the Lakers? To me, that report sounds like pretty straightforward. And maybe it's just, again, obviously I understand the wording, right? It can be interpreted away, but I just read that as like, okay, he's opting in to stay with the Lakers, which is what it is, right? He's not opting in to be traded, because if that was the case, then that would be what the headline would say. It says he's opting in to stay with the Lakers, which means he's opting in, which he's staying with the Lakers. That doesn't mean that the Lakers are not going to trade him. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. I saw a lot of like, oh, does this mean D'Lo is staying? And to me, it was like, that sounds pretty straightforward to me. But the thing that is a bit concerning to me, and where I do think there is this like, oh, D'Lo is staying with the Lakers, is the reasoning and what D'Lo said himself, which is that the reason he is opting in is because A, he wants to win a championship with the Lakers, and B, that he really likes JJ Redick as the head coach, and he believes that JJ Redick can kind of elevate his level of play, basically make him better than what Darvin Ham did with D'Angelo Russell. Also, I do think that there are some pros and cons to keeping D'Lo. I know everyone wants D'Lo traded. I still think that the Lakers are going to trade D'Lo, but I want to talk about both sides, right? I want to talk about the pros, and I want to talk about the cons with, JJ Redick. But what D'Lo said is where I think maybe the Lakers had a conversation with him of like, hey, we intend to keep you, right? Like, we're going to ride this out and see, there's no guarantee that if it doesn't work that we won't trade you, but at least momentarily, we're probably going to keep you. We may look to move like Gabe Vincent and some of the other guys, but you may end up being here. Now, let's assume that D'Lo does stay, right? Because there's even, I think it was Dave McMenamin and Ryan Russillo, I think they kind of said like, oh, the Lakers may end up being stuck until the trade deadline, which is a possibility, especially DeJounte Murray. He ended up going to the New Orleans Pelicans. That's tough. If the Lakers are to keep D'Lo, I actually believe D'Lo will be better this year for the Lakers than he was last year under JJ Redick. And here's why. The whole idea, according to what JJ said, is he wants LeBron to play off ball. And he doesn't want LeBron to dominate the basketball. LeBron also has to buy into that philosophy. LeBron for like 6 years has talked about how he doesn't want to be on ball heavily. He wants to play off ball. He wants to play off ball. He wants to play off ball. It's one thing to say that. It's another thing to actually do it. D'Angelo Russell had his best games with the Lakers. I mean, had career high games, all that stuff, when he was allowed to be the point guard. When the ball was in his hands and he was allowed to make the plays. It's not a coincidence that whenever LeBron missed a game, D'Lo was absolute money. and was giving you, 30 points and 9 assists and just looking great, right? What Darvin Ham liked to do is, for whatever reason, play D'Lo and LeBron together and almost primarily play D'Lo off ball. And then when LeBron would go to the bench, D'Lo would go to the bench, and Austin Reeves would be the primary point guard. How many times did we see Austin Reeves running a unit? And it's like, why? I mean, I was screaming on the top of my lungs how, even when we got Spencer Dinwiddie, right? It's like we desperately needed another playmaker because Austin Reeves couldn't handle the responsibilities. He wasn't good with ball pressure. He got tunnel vision, right? He wasn't good at actually play making and setting guys up. He could find the occasional cutter. He could, pass to the open man, but he wasn't out there wheeling and dealing. Like, D'Lo is a playmaker. You see it. He's developing things and creating things out of nothing. Again, go watch the tape. Go look at the numbers when he is allowed to play point guard and LeBron isn't in the games. It's staggering how good D'Lo is when he plays that role. So I believe that JJ Redick will actually allow him to play point guard, and I think D'Lo will be better. Now, will he be able to shoot the way he did last year? I don't know. Hopefully, right? That's the idea, but you never really know, right? I mean, he had a historical shooting season. If he can maintain that, I think he probably will be, a 17 to 20 point a game guy, and I think he's going to get you probably 8 to 10 assists a game. If he's allowed to play the role that I believe JJ Redick would have him play, right? Now, I don't know if, it's one thing to do it in spots, but again, D'Lo also has a track record. Like, go look at his numbers even in Brooklyn, right? When he was allowed to be the point guard. Right? This is a guy that led Brooklyn to the playoffs as the main guy and, was dishing out 9 assists a game. Look at him even with the Warriors. Look at him with Minnesota when he was allowed to play point guard and he was actually allowed to wheel and deal and wasn't just primarily off ball. Right? Like, the numbers say that D'Lo is an excellent point guard when he's allowed to be the point guard. Does he have his ailments? Does he have his flaws? Of course. But I do think D'Lo would be elevated and be better than he was last year under JJ Redick. However, the cons of keeping D'Lo is you're even more limited on the type of upgrades that you can have. I'm not saying you trade D'Lo just to trade D'Lo, and there's also the concerns of if you trade D'Lo, who's your point guard is a real question, right? Because, like, if you trade D'Lo and you get, let's say you work out a deal and go get Cam Johnson, right? Well, then now what? Are you moving Austin Reeves to the point guard? We saw that last year, and we saw how much of a disaster that was. And especially if you want to play LeBron more off ball. Now, if you're playing LeBron as the point guard, right, even if he's slotted at the 4, but he's the point guard, and Reeves is just kind of the initiator that's getting you into the actions, then fine. But if he's having to be the playmaker and make plays and do all this other stuff, that I have very concerns. And then what, you're moving Gabe Vincent into that role? Again, he's not really a playmaker. Again, a guy that can initiate the offense and make the occasional play, but he's closer to like a George Hill, Mario Chalmers, Norris Cole. Like, the reason I've always liked the idea of Gabe Vincent alongside LeBron, because LeBron's on ball so heavily. Gabe Vincent is the guy that can initiate the offense, kick it to LeBron, and then he's a threat off ball to where LeBron can drive and kick out to him, right? Avery Bradley is another example, right? George Hill, like guys like that. So if you end up trading D'Lo, you have to replace him at the point guard position, because then what? Like let's say you do move Gabe Vincent into the starting unit, right? There's an argument there. Again, 3-and-D style point guard, can defend opposing point guards, especially in the West, and he can knock down the 3-ball off ball. Sure, I get that. It makes sense. Well, who's your backup? Right? Because, look, I would love, a CP3 off the bench type thing, but he might be getting traded to the Clippers. I mean, by the time you're watching this video, he might already be traded to the Clippers, and the Clippers supposedly want to keep him, right? Paul George looks like he might be going to the Warriors. So if that's the case, then there goes Chris Paul. Who are you bringing in? And what, are you using your taxpayer mid-level to get that guard? Well, then what are you doing at the center position, right? Because Jackson Hayes And Anthony Davis, it's not enough, right? You're going to need another center. So you need other pieces in other areas. So if you trade him, you got to figure that out. That's another thing with trading him, and another, I guess, kind of argument to keep D'Lo. But he's kind of the one catalyst you have to really get that real impact piece, whatever that is, right? And I'm not talking about like a Cam Reddish or a Dorian Finney-Smith, something like that. Or not Cam Reddish, Cam Johnson and, a Dorian Finney-Smith, something like that. Right? Those guys, they make us better, but they're not these like, they're the kind of players you need on a championship, but they're not going to elevate us to the point where we're a top 3 team in the league. They would be great. I would love to have them, don't get me wrong. The idea was like get DeJounte Murray and then get Cam Johnson. Fortunately, that didn't work out, right? Because then that would have been like, okay, now you got DeJounte Murray, who's the ceiling raiser, and you're adding in Cam Johnson, who's another guy that, can be a 3-and-D, go get a bucket, put the ball on the floor, do multiple things. Sure, now we're cooking, right? But that's the thing, like, it is kind of interesting, in particular, D'Lo's words and what he said, and then also, the fact that if they do keep him, okay, but then what other moves are you making? Right? And a D'Lo Reeves backcourt, I still don't think works. Like, you run it back. If you run it back, will we be better than we were last year? Yes. Because 1, I think you have another year of chemistry. 2, I think Austin Reeves will be better than he was last year, especially under JJ Redick. I think D'Lo, again, will be better. I think guys will be better. You have a better coach. I think you'll instill a better offensive philosophy. I think the Lakers will be better. But they're not a top 5 roster in the league. Right? They still have a chance. I mean, even this year, right? Even with all the question marks and concerns and stuff with this Lakers team, right? You still were like, hey, if they were in the Dallas bracket, they're probably in the finals instead of Dallas, right? They were just in the conference finals the year earlier. So there is this sense of like, if we're healthy, right, with the new head coach and another year of chemistry, like this team will be better. So I do think the Lakers will be better, but everyone else is getting better too, right? Again, the Pelicans just got marginally better, right? Like, so it's one of those things. I have my concerns in that regard, but we'll see, right? Just happened. It's early, right? Free agency is right around the corner, so we'll see, what ends up developing. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Lakers should keep D'Lo? Do you think that they trade D'Lo? Do you want them to keep D'Lo, trade D'Lo? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.